And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking a little bit more about the Marshawn Lattimore trade, which the Washington Commanders go out there and get a very talented cornerback to help them out immediately this season. We're also going to be talking about some of the key takeaways going into this game against the Steelers. And so let's go back to the deal that took place here yesterday where the Washington Commanders went ahead and traded for Marshawn Lattimore. And just looking at the grades and really just looking at the impact of Marshawn Lattimore and what he is going to bring to this Washington Commanders defense. I love this statistic here. And by the way, you have ESPN that gave the Commanders a B+ here. But this is what this insider talks about. And he's talking about that St. Juste had been targeted 25% of the time, which was second most among outside corners with at least 150 coverage snaps. He was allowing a 1.9 yards per coverage. But then on the flip side, look at this with Lattimore. He has the lowest target rate among outside corners at 10%, and he's only allowing a 0.7 yards per coverage, which is the third lowest. So you just see, just from these statistics, just how much of an impact that Lattimore is going to be to this secondary right here. And I love what is talked about here in USA Today when they talk about the fact that he is just 28 years old. He's already got the 15 career interceptions. I expect that he's going to get a lot more with this defense. But I like the fact that even in a year with the Saints where he's really struggled with the injuries and things like that, the hamstring injury, he's yielding a career low 5.2 yards per target while allowing just 69.1 passer ratings when targeted. And so that is exactly what the Washington Commanders needed here. So just looking a little bit more as to the grades here, I think everybody across the board agrees with this move for the Commanders. And, you know, just looking at what Marshawn Lattimore is going to bring, because I don't think that the injuries are going to be the issue, because right now he's just dealing with some hamstring injuries. And in fact, I think that this is going to be just like Devontae Adams, where he was dealing with hamstring and a hamstring injury. He comes over to his new team. He's ready to go. I think that Marshawn Lattimore is going to, or Lattimore, excuse me, is going to be just fine. And look, when you, I got a chance to listen to what they were talking about on Locked On Saints, where they cover the Saints every day. And he had done a crossover episode with Locked On Commanders. And when asked about Marshawn Lattimore and just what he is going to bring, and if the injuries were a concern, he felt like the injuries are not going to be a concern. And you are going to get a guy that is absolutely locked in. He definitely wants to get better. And at the end of the day, here is a guy that is going to definitely be able to utilize the leverage. He understands what wide receivers are going to want to do. And one of the things that Dan Quinn talked about is that, there's just really no metric to put on what Lattimore is going to bring to this team, because he talked about the identity for the Washington Commanders and something that he really respects with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. And he feels like that Lattimore is going to help establish that identity. And I think that he's 1,000% correct on this. And when Adam Peters and both Coach Dan Quinn talked about it, they just talk about a guy that just they feel like can get it done regardless of what is going on with his athleticism, because they feel like at the end of the day, even if his athleticism has slowed down, which they do not see on tape and they don't hear that around the league, that this is a guy that just finds a way to stay on your hip pocket and contest footballs out there and literally shuts down one side of the field. And so I'd expect for more of that and the same for Marshawn Lattimore as he comes over to the Washington Commanders at this point in time. And I think this was also interesting too, in listening to what Adam Peters was talking about and why they made this deal. The Commanders had a lot of picks. They had 9 picks, so they had an abundance of picks. And they were just trying to figure out, okay, if we were to go into the draft, would we get a chance at a player like Lattimore? And also, too, in free agency, would we get a chance like him? And they felt like that this was the best opportunity to really upgrade this football team. And they have him on contract for the next 2 years. And so there's no guaranteed money in it right now. I'm sure that they're probably going to renegotiate this, but this is a win-win situation. Washington. And the last thing about Lattimore, we're talking about the coverage, talking about his ability to understand and take away the side of the field, just being a DB and covering, but he's excellent at coming up and giving run support. That's another thing that I love about Lattimore. He is a physical corner that is seeking to go out there and attack the ball carrier, which is something that we might need because we have been getting gashed in the running game. So hopefully he can help clean that up for us too as well. And so now that we shift focus and we look over into some of the stats going into the Washington Commanders versus the Steelers coming up this game, I think one of the key takeaways when I initially looked at this is going to be the turnover differential, because right now the Steelers are plus 10 and they are third in the NFL. And so that just really tells me that Jaden Daniels is going to be tested. I know that he's looked like a veteran quarterback. He doesn't look like a rookie quarterback. And I think it's mainly because he's been able to take care of the football. He's been able to take care of this offense and just continue to generate points, even if it's just the field goal. But with TJ Watt coming into the building, this guy is just perfect at the strip sack. And then they have also added Preston Smith, which is going to make this defensive unit that much more tougher. And I think that if they do get home, Jaden Daniels has got to hold on to the football, because the turnovers could be the difference in this football game for either team, because they're coming in third at plus 10. We're actually coming in at seventh. And so at the turnover differential, so we're tied for seven at plus 5 there. And so that just lets you know that when we are able to generate turnovers, it really helps our football team out. It's been extremely good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'd say any team in the NFL, if you can win that turnover differential battle, you're going to be in good shape. And so I think that that is going to be a huge key for this game. Next up, when we look at this, I think that now that we have Marshawn Lattimore, Russell Wilson, and we know that Russell Wilson likes to throw the deep ball. And I think certainly this is going to help us in that department, because now that you have Marshawn Lattimore over here really taking away a side of the field, the Steelers just got Mike Williams. All right. And so that is certainly going to open it up a little bit for George Pickens over here at this point. And so, now if you can take away one of those receivers, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Russell Wilson to go down the field and really hit you with those deep balls. And as a passing offense, even though that they've really been heating up, I think, since Russell Wilson has taken over, at this point in time of the recording, they're actually 26th in pass offense. But again, I can see that quickly changing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because certainly we know what Russell Wilson has done with Seattle. He's obviously a Super Bowl champion. This guy definitely knows how to unlock an offense. And so hopefully it doesn't happen against the Washington Commanders. We're hoping that Lattimore will help us there in that department. But I think that is going to be key for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if they cannot generate just a lot of yards down the field, and we get them to pretty much work the time of possession, I think that we have a great chance in winning this football game. So these are two takeaways about this game coming up. We're going to be talking a little bit more about what we could expect in this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and just what the Washington Commanders are going to need to execute in order to win this game. And so anyway, this is Rico. This is Washington Commanders Insider. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right. Peace. Take care.